You're good.
I had this whole sort of speech written out for this presentation. I was going to memorize it and like create note cards, that kind of thing. And then I realized, you guys are cool, so I'm more or less just going to improvise this. Anyway, I was born here. Not in this exact spot, as you might have guessed. That would have been awkward for you, Mr. Allison. But I was born in this city.
Thank you for that.
And the house I'm living in at present, which is my grandmother's house, I've lived in since I was about 2. I used to live in the house with my father, but my father's a whole different story that I'm not going to get into right now. I'm going to spare you the details. But yes, we lived with my grandmother because my mother, the youngest of 8 children, was assigned keep grandmother alive duty, which she did very well on for about 13 years before she did fail in her job of keeping her alive. Oh well. So now we've sort of taken residence over the house. But now that I got the formalities aside, let's start with a little bit of an anecdote. First day of kindergarten, and yes, this is one of my earliest memories. I walk in, I sit down, and you know how they teach you about rhymes and stuff in kindergarten? Like, the teacher gives you a word, and then you raise your hand, you give out a rhyme. Well, that was the first day. And the teacher says, give me a rhyme for the word dog. And I raise my hand all excited because I think, oh, I'm so smart. I'm gonna nail this class. I say log. I think, oh, I'm so good. And I look around, and everyone's kind of looking at me like, huh? I say it again, like log, that makes sense, right? And it's only when I'm getting escorted out of the classroom that I realize that no one was understanding a single word I was saying. I didn't get why. To me, I sounded perfectly fine. And that's where about 9 years of speech therapy began. For the S and the R and just a whole bunch of other sounds that my mouth couldn't quite wrap around. I had quite an experience with speech therapy for all those years. But here's the thing about speech therapy. When you sound a little bit like an alien from Star Trek, it's really hard to make close friendships with people. So I did what anyone who can't talk does, and I turned to other sources of validation, that being books. Just tons of books. Mountains and piles and treasure troves of books. I mean, I read the classics that you would read at that age, like Harry Potter. One time I was obsessed with like a little mystery series called, involved like a magic tree house or whatever. It was stupid. But I just fell in love with stories and myth. Well, I got really into Greek mythology at one point because it was how I escaped. It was a place where I didn't have to talk. I just had to experience and insert myself into these fantastic worlds. And because I read so many books, I became kind of a smart kid. I put that in quotation marks because I got good at words, I got good at language, and I got good at tests. And that's what teachers care about. They care about tests. I became a teacher's pet, almost. And I went into a high ability program, and it was very sterilizing. Had some adverse effects in the long run. But of course, I'll get into that some other time. For now, I almost feel like I'm missing something. Like there's some detail that's kind of obvious about me that most of you probably already know at this point that I haven't brought up yet. I don't entirely know what it is. It's not... What is this? Oh! Yeah, the trans thing. Let me explain. Big problem for the first few years of my life. Everyone thought I was a dude. Don't you hate it when that happens? When everyone thinks you're a dude for a really long time, and you think you're a dude, it gets real awkward, because then you have to be like, I'm not, so that everyone feels real bad. It's a shame. In all seriousness, the trans thing probably contributed to a little bit of my childhood awkwardness, the social anxiety, being stuck in the wrong skin. Because it's not just the wrong skin, everything around you feels wrong when you're a kid who doesn't know that you're trans. You don't get along with the other boys and you think they're kind of gross, but you don't get along with the girls either because you're not considered part of their group. I remember for a long time, the clothes I wore, it wasn't even just a gender thing, just they never felt right. I never liked having them on because they didn't feel like they fit. So once again, I had to find a way to escape until I finally figured out what was going on with me. And that was stories, books. It was the only place where I could feel right, with female protagonists and people who seemed to understand. And that's how I became a writer. And I'll get into that some other time. Thanks.